Alrighty, as we begin studying functions, one thing that's going to be real important is that we understand function notation because as we start working with functions, we don't always just write things basic. We write them a little fancier. So at the end of this lesson, you'll be able to evaluate a function using correct notation, and you'll be able to solve problems that are written with function notation. All right, so what is function notation? All right, so we basically are just going to see something that looks like this, f of x. And if you've ever entered my room after I've been working with my calculus class, you will see this written on the board. It's going to be read as f of x. And what we are going to be doing in this problem is we are going to be treating the f of x like we would a y, because this is saying that my relation is a function of x. So x is going to be my input variable and my f is going to be my output variable, which is the y. So why on earth would you do that? Well, the problem is when we start working with more functions, we want to make sure I might have two different functions that I'm comparing, and I just want to make sure that I can distinguish between the two. So I might call one function f of x, and I might call another function g of x, and so that helps me know which function am I talking about. I can call my functions anything they want. I can call it h of x, I can call it p of x, I can call it m of x, and we could just keep going. We could name it whatever we want, but basically we're just designating that this function is a function of x. Sometimes, even in different situations, especially again in my calculus class, we are talking about things in relationship to time. So a lot of times I might even change the x to a t. So a lot of times we might see something that looks like this, f of t. So this would be a function in terms of t. So which would be in relationship with time, but that's just for another day. So anyway, that's the function notation. So if you see f of x, I just need you to think, oh, that just means y. All right, so now the first thing that we're going to do is evaluate functions. So this one says to evaluate the function when x equals -4 and x equals 2. So basically what they're saying, please remember that this is f of x. So they're basically saying we want x to be -4, and then I want x to be 2. So the way that we're going to write this, and a lot of times this is the way that you're going to see it, I'm going to write f of -4. So this is find the function answer when x is -4. So on the right side, notice we have an x. So in place of our x, we're going to put the -4. So 2 times -4 minus 3. All right. One thing that I am going to point out, this is not different than what we've been doing before. It's just understanding the notation of doing it a little bit differently. So now from here, f of -4, there's nothing that we need to do on this side. Again, this is just saying find the function answer when x equals -4, and then we're just going to find the answer. 2 times -4 is -8, and -8 minus 3 is -11. You could do that by hand, or you could just plug it in your calculator. So we now have found that f of -4 is -11. And now I'm going to do the same thing with 2. So this time we're going to find f of 2, which means find the answer for the function when x equals 2. So on the right side now, I'm going to plug in 2 for the x value. So we're going to do 2 times 2 minus 3. All right, so I'm just going to keep the left side alone. So f of 2 is equal to 2 times 2 is 4, minus 3 is 1. So f of 2 is equal to 1. Alrighty, example 2. This time it says f of x equals 5x. We're still going to be using -4 and 2. So the first question we want to answer is f of -4. Okay, on the right side, we just again put -4 in for the x. So I'm going to have 5 times -4. I keep the left side alone because, again, that's just telling me what I'm finding. And then the right side, 5 times -4 is -20. All right, and then the next part of it, we want to find the answer when x equals 2. So again, I'm going to write f of 2 equals, this time I'll plug in 2 for the x, so 5 times 2. And once again, the left side is only telling me what I'm doing. I'm finding the answer for the function when x equals 2. And the right side, 5 times 2 is 10. So when I plug in 2 to that function, I get 10. All right, problem number 3, you know whose turn it is. It is yours. So would you please go ahead and pause the video, go ahead and work the problem out, and then come back and see how you did. Alrighty, welcome back. Hopefully you see this, our function is going to be h this time. So we are going to write h of -4 equals, and wherever I see an x on the right side, I will put a 4. So I'll put 7 minus 2 times negative 4. And then if you used a calculator or if you thought about order of operations, doesn't matter, we should end up getting h of negative 4 is equal to 15. And if you were doing it by hand, I do negative 2 times negative 4 first, which is plus 8. 7 plus 8 is 15. Alrighty, and then the next part is going to be finding h of 2, which means on the right side we'll plug in 2 for the x, so 7 minus 2 times 2. And again, from here you could use your calculator, or you could think 2 times 2 is 4, 7 minus 4. We are going to get h of 2 is equal to 3. So hopefully you got that, or if not, you understand it now. Alrighty, the next thing is just understanding what problems mean in a context, like what does the function notation mean? So we're going to look at the next example. It says let n of t be the number of DVDs you have in your collection after t trips to the video store. Explain the meaning of each statement. So notice we've got n of t. So t, it told us, stands for the number of trips to the store. Okay, and n is the number of DVDs. So this number right here is the number of DVDs. So our answer is going to be the number of DVDs. This number in here is the number of trips. So this 0 stands for the number of trips. So before I even go to the DVD store, I suppose, or the video store, if I take no trips to the video store, okay, remember this 8 is going to stand for the number of DVDs. So that's my answer. I have 8 DVDs. Well, how could I have any DVDs if I didn't go to the video store? I probably already had those in my collection, is what that means. So instead of writing that, I could have said, I have 8 DVDs in my collection without going to the video store. All right, so now B, we have n of 3 equals 14. So the number inside of the parentheses is my t. It's the number of trips. So this would mean after making 3 trips to the video store, I now have 14 DVDs. So after 3 trips to the video store, I have 14 DVDs in my collection. All right, and then for part C, this says n of 5 is greater than n of 3. So this, remember the 5 and the 3 stand for the trips, and the n stands for the number of DVDs. So this basically is saying the number of DVDs after 5 trips is more than the number of DVDs after 3 trips. So I'm going to just say that. So the number of DVDs in my collection is more after 5 trips than it was after 3 trips. And that totally makes sense. The more trips I make to the video store, the more I'm going to have in my collection, is all that is talking about. Alrighty, problem number 5. This time we're going to still use function notation. We're just going to switch it up a little bit. It says to find the value of x so that the function has the indicated value. So this time it says f of x is equal to 3x, and it says f of x is equal to 30. Notice this time it didn't tell me what x is. We want to find x, but it's telling me that my answer is going to be 30. So instead of putting 30 in for my x, I'm actually putting it in f of x is equal to 30. So I'm putting it in for my answer. So we're going to have 30 equals 3x, and I need to figure out what x would give me an answer of 30. So we could just divide both sides by 3, and x equals 10. So notice that if I plugged 10 in here, I would get an answer of 30, and that's what we're looking for. Okay, I am going to let you pause the video. Let's see how you do. If you're totally stuck, just hang with me, but I would like you, if at all possible, to just pause the video, see if you can try it on your own, and come back and see how you did. Alrighty, welcome back, or maybe you've just been staying with me the whole time. Alrighty, we've got f of x is equal to 2x plus 3, and we are given that f of x is equal to 11. So they told me, they didn't tell me what x is, they told me my answer is 11. So I want to get 11 when I plug in my x. So 11 equals 2x plus 3. So from here I'm going to subtract 3 I've got 8 equals 2x. I'll divide by 2, and I get x equals 4. So that means if I plugged 4 in, I will get an answer of 11. Hopefully you did okay on that. All right, number 6. Let's get in a word problem before we finish here. Let f of x equal 300 minus 75x represent the number of miles a helicopter is from its destination after x hours. How far is the helicopter after 2 hours? So the biggest thing is here it says x hours. So the x stands for the number of hours. So this is basically asking me to find f of 2. So that's what I'm going to do. So wherever I see an x, I'm going to put a 2. So 300 minus 75 times 2. So remember, we're just going to leave it f of 2. We're not going to do anything with that at all. And we'll have 300 minus 75 times 2, which will give us 150. And it was how many miles? So it will be 150 miles. Please notice that this question was actually one that I could have asked on a previous test. It's not different. We're just writing it in different notation. All right, so that was part A. Part B, how long does it take the helicopter to be 100 miles away? 100 is my answer, so that is my f of x. So in this equation right here, we're going to put 100 in for the answer. So 300 minus 75x. And then from here, we're going to solve an equation just like we've been solving the equation all trimester. So we're going to subtract 300 from both sides. We've got negative 200 is equal to negative 75x. And then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 75. And then negative 200 divided by negative 75 is, I believe it was like 2.6 repeating. So I'm going to say about 2.7 hours away the helicopter would be from us. All right. So hopefully now after watching this video, you can recognize function notation. You can evaluate a function written in function notation, and you can solve problems.